All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Thursday and I Am Enough TV. Super excited to have an amazing guest with me today, LaChelle Atkins, right?
That's correct.
And, we love doing Facebook Lives because I was just telling LaChelle, like right before we got on here, I was supposed to be doing this in my house and wearing my I Am Enough shirt. However, a friend is staying with me and I don't know where she's at and I can't get into my house. So I am improvising here at the clubhouse where I live. So anyway, I was not going to miss this interview for anything. So LaChelle Adkins, she is a life coach and she
hmm
actually had me on her show. Was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, you know what? Don't ask me, girl. I get so many guests every day,
Yeah,
but it was a powerful interview. That I do know.
it is. And you live in Atlanta, right?
Oh, yeah, right outside of Atlanta. Yeah, I'm in
Awesome.
Georgia. Yeah.
Very cool. And you recently, after having me on the show, connected with one of my really good friends, Carl Wilson.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we can talk about that. I had forgot all about that.
Yeah. So we will definitely talk about that. But I always ask my guests the first question. What I used to do is, ask what it means to be enough, because that was based on my first book. But
Right.
now I'm writing my second book called You Are Strength. So when I say that, you are strength, what does that mean to you?
That is a great question because a lot of us are going around in our weaknesses. We
Yes.
wear masks, we try to cover up the things that we think that are quote unquote wrong with us. So to me, to live in your strength is to be authentic. So for
Mm,
example, I did a Facebook Live today with my daughter. She's 20 and she's been battling with depression, and she was just her authentic self and said, well, you shouldn't take medicine while drinking. And, it's like, okay, now what about people hearing this? Because I'm a first lady. She's 20 years old. Of course, if she's
mhm.
drinking, she's not drinking age. But for her to feel comfortable enough to share that, not only with me, but with viewers, and to be authentic about it, to me, that just was a lesson that it was great to witness myself, even though as a parent, we're like, oh, I want my child to do everything right and not make
Mhm.
any mistakes. But I was able to take that news and hear it in the presence of other people and be able to say, you know what, that's just quite a brave thing to do, to admit that in front of a lot of viewers.
That is
So just being
awesome.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
So you are strength means exactly that, like being authentic and like
hmm
unapologetically owning who you are. We use that as our mission statement on our podcast, the Blonde Bombshell podcast. And
Okay.
what an amazing thing for your 20-year-old daughter to be able to embrace that, because it took me, I'm 40, it took me many
Right.
years to embrace that authenticity. And your daughter is 20. How did that make you feel like when
Uh,
she
it,
did that on live, Facebook Live?
it was awesome because, for one, that's one of my passions, is to deal with the youth in terms of depression, because for them it's like depression, suicide. There is no
Mhm.
in between, and it's really a hard thing because they feel like there's nobody they can talk to.
Right.
We are so busy having them be perfect, so to speak, and other things, and they look at social media feeds and feel like, well, I just don't measure up. I don't have anybody to talk to. Nobody looks like me. Nobody acts
Right.
like me or thinks not like me. So they feel like they're isolated and alone. So to be able to say, hey, this is my truth and this is what happened to me, and I'm struggling with it, and to feel comfortable to say that to me, I was just wishing I had come to that realization when I was 20. Okay. It would have saved me
Right.
a lot of heartache.
Yes. And this honestly leads to my next question, which I was going to ask later. But I
hmm
think this goes well because you're kind of known as America's super mom.
hmm
And I think that this really, paints the picture of you obviously have done something right as a mom because you've instilled those lessons and those values in your daughter. So what does it mean to you and how did you get this name of America's Supermom?
Well, it started out because we have been on several local news stations. So, as we had another baby, people were like, well, they're having another one. And so Supermom came from that. And I just added the tag of Americas because for me, everybody says that if I go and tell them how many kids I have, I don't even know them. They don't know me. I just tell them how many kids, and they're like, my hat goes
How many
off to
kids?
you. It's 15.
Wait. Okay, so now we definitely have to get into that. I didn't know that again because like I just did your show, and so like I'm still getting to know you. We just connected on Facebook, and so yes, 15.
15. Yes.
Now that is being enough. That is being strength and being America's Supermom, girl. Seriously.
So yeah.
Tell us that story.
Yeah. So, we started out when we had our first child before we got married. And, we decided that, we just come from, wouldn't say we come from a Christian background because we both we went to church every once in a while, but we really got called to the ministry after we had 3 children. And so from there, we met at college. I decided to stay home. And so we thought that would be the best. For me, I was an only child growing up. So I hated to be a latchkey kid. My mom couldn't go to field trips. So I wanted to be that mom that was able to interact with the kids, go on field trips, that type of thing. So we decided for me to stay home. And, I struggled with depression and anxiety because my only example of people staying home was on the soap operas, and they're flying overseas to shop and doing all this stuff. And that definitely wasn't my reality, but I didn't have anybody I can relate to. So I was isolated by choice, but there wasn't very many people homeschooling or any of the things that we did in order to make it work with me being home. And so we did small businesses on the side and things like that. But it really was a journey with trying to keep that balance between mom and wife and ministry and all these different things because you want to be good at everything, right?
Well, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the mass just started getting bigger and bigger in different areas of my life. My husband was also an officer in the military. So there's a lot of pressure with that. Yeah.
Woo, woo. I was an officer in the military. Thank you to your husband and to your entire family, especially to you as well for your service. That's amazing.
Yes.
What branch?
So it's just great. So, it's like officers not being with the non-commissioned or whatever.
Oh my gosh, girl.
Know the term. You know what I'm saying?
It's like non-commissioned. So like enlisted with officers, there's like fraternization and like all of this stuff. I could go all into it. But what branch was he in?
He was in the Army.
Okay. So I was Air Force.
Okay.
So
you had it better, girl.
I did, not gonna lie.
Yeah. But, he was a reservist. But then what got us to Georgia was that he did active duty. So instead of going overseas during Desert Storm, they brought him to Fort Benning to train the troops that were going overseas. Okay. So just that adjustment, we weren't used to full-time Army, but we had to dive into that. So, it was this one thing, one standard that I felt I had to meet after another. And for me, just that journey now being able, after 3 hospitalizations, to say, hey, I'm me, whether I'm in a military function, church, or whatever. And it took a while for me to get to that, because I felt like I had to do everything right, say the right thing, wear the right thing, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So did you birth all 15 kids?
I actually had 13 of them. Yes.
Oh,
so 2 of them were my
Look at my reaction. Like, seriously. 13?
13.
Oh, bless you. Like, that's amazing.
It is a blessing. And 11 of them were natural childbirth. No pain medicine.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the last 2, because I was over 40, I had to have C-sections with. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then you adopted 2.
They were my stepchildren.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Sons. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of this. Like, you truly are America's Supermom. And how did we connect again? Like
through Teresa Snyder, because
that's
you were
on
her show.
Oh,
and
that's right. Yes.
You were saying about your journey of being enough. I went through that with my depression. It resonated with me. And I was like, people need to hear this,
And again, so I didn't know much about you because like when I was on your show, we didn't talk about your 13 kids,
Right.
well, plus two, 15. Oh my goodness. So I have like
I
so
know.
many questions.
And that's the thing why, and I say that name and I try to tell people, put it out there up front, American
Yeah.
Supermom. I don't know what people think, when they hear that term.
Well, to
But
be honest, what I thought was that you are rocking it in your business as an entrepreneur and that you're a mom. I mean, obviously that's the truth, but you've got 15 kids.
right.
So, okay. So most people know that I am divorced and I've never wanted kids. I'm
Okay.
still like that. I think it's a lot from like how I grew up and this and that. But,
Mm-hmm.
I have pretty much all my friends have kids. And
Right.
I know that they struggle with, and honestly, when I wrote my book, it is for women, but it's obviously for men too, because we all struggle with the thought of not being enough. And what
Right.
does it mean to like live in our strength? But I think a lot of the people that have really, gravitated to this message and to what I'm doing is their moms. And they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out, what is my life going to look like? Like, I don't want to stay at home all the time. Or maybe they do want to stay at home, but maybe they want like a side gig and they're like,
Right.
how do I find time for that and self-care and take care of my kids? So like, that is my big question. How
Yes.
in Sam Hill do you do all that you do with 15 kids and
Well,
your husband?
right. The thing that I would say first off is you are who you are as a person first, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else is a bonus. So for me, I thought my worth came from the roles that I play.
Yep.
So if I'm a first lady for church or I'm an officer's wife, I looked at those as being attached to my worth. So I got my validation from if people resonated with that, if I was doing good. I
Yeah.
gave all my control away, because I made myself the object of whatever everybody else thought was good instead of what I thought was good.
Yep.
So the first thing is to know who you are and what you like to do and just bring your kids along for the ride.
Yeah.
So now that I've found that out, just like today, my daughter was like, she has a YouTube channel. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, yeah, I want to try to have all the kids on, individually so everybody knows who they are. And I'm not this super mom. They're like, now, wait a minute, we're her kids. But she was like, well, yeah, we really just didn't want to be on. And so there was a little bit of truth to that.
Yeah.
They really feel like, what's the story? But now that they see my excitement and what I'm doing and I include them in it, now they can say, you know what, I can support her, but I don't have to be 100 doing everything she's doing. I can let
Right.
her be her and support her in the way that I want to when I'm ready.
That is absolutely amazing. What are the age ranges of your kids?
5 to 29.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
they're
how
all
do you get that self-care? And like, how do you, well, first of all, let's take a step back. What do you do? I know you're a life coach, but before we jump into like the time management and the self-care, share with us a little bit about like what you do, like on a day-to-day basis with your business being an entrepreneur so that we can set the stage for how do you do it all.
Right. So usually, I am a life coach. So I do Facebook Lives. This is something that I started just to get with my network and reach out and network. So I do those on Mondays and Saturdays usually.
Mm-hmm.
So it started out where it was organic. I was doing them like every day over the summer. My kids were out of school. I had more time. But I just left my calendar open and it was crazy. Sometimes I'd be doing like 15 a week.
Oh my gosh.
And so I didn't think it was going to get that much traction. So I scaled back to do it just 2 days a week. And I also am a Mary Kay consultant. So I've been doing that off and on in the past, but I just got back in that.
Okay.
What I do is I just figure out, what are my goals? What do I want to accomplish for the day? And I think about strategically how I can get that done. So, just like, if you're going on an errand, thinking about what are the places that I need to go today and how you're going to map out your trip to get there. So for me, I have to take those pockets of time and think strategically and leverage that on how I can make that have an impact.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I do stuff, but if I have time that my kids are napping or something, I'm waiting at a doctor's office or something, I'll get on lives of other people or read posts and engage with them.
Yeah.
So I just do those things in small amounts of time, but people are like, every time I turn around, you're on Facebook. And I'm like, well, I'm really not on there that much,
Yeah.
because when I'm on there, I'm doing something and then I'm getting off and I'm doing something else. So
That's
I'm not
so
really
important.
multitasking.
I think
Yeah.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I think that's so important because
Yeah.
a lot of my friends or people will be like, did you see what I posted today? And I'm like, no, because I don't really scroll through Facebook. When I'm on Facebook, because I don't have time. I shouldn't say I don't have time because, girl, I have all the time in the world compared to
I
what
know
you've got going on. But but like I don't, yeah, because I don't want to spend time just scrolling. I want to be on social media for a reason, right? To like add content and value to people. So I'm really glad that you said that because you're doing things when you have these spare moments that actually mean something, right? So my big question is,
right.
because we can't get to where we want to be and be good moms, fathers, daughters, whatever, if we don't take care of ourselves. So what does your self-care look like and how do you schedule that in?
Well, one of the things that's really important in terms of being a coach is the vocation that I do right now is coaching. It helps me to stay humble. It helps me to remember that I can't do everything by myself and I'm not alone. So it's like a constant reminder to me of the importance of taking that time, to get as well as to receive. So that type of career has helped me to kind of keep my self-care in balance.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, take time with the family, like
Right.
starting, hey, Fridays, we're just going to have family night or something. Or, right now we're all over the place. I have two girls that are cheerleaders, a son that's in middle school that plays football. So some games are the same day. We got to split up, but I think once you know what your values are, then it's
Yeah.
easy to plug in things and say no or yes, because it's like, you know what, I just can't do that right now.
Right.
It just doesn't fit with what I have going on. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, girl. I wish you lived closer because I would love to meet the whole family. I mean, it's amazing. Um, and I may want your
I know.
daughter.
Well, we just got to schedule a visit.
I know, right? I mean, it's San Diego. And I may
Yeah,
want your
I
daughter
have
on,
a family member.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I may want to schedule
Mm-hmm.
your daughter too on the TV show down the road. So we'll have to talk more about that too.
Absolutely.
I would love that. So,
Yeah, because she was in a relationship, and so that's
oh
really
yeah.
what her battle has been. Is that for 2.5 years they were actually engaged,
Oh my
and
gosh.
she just recently broke up because she just felt like he wasn't the one, and just dealing with. She said she's sad, she misses him because they spent a lot of time together,
Mm-hmm.
but she knows he wasn't the right fit for her. And I'm just like, that is
Wow.
awesome. How do you know that at 20? I said I have friends that are in their 40s that still been
I,
with people longer for years
yeah,
and
I,
thinking they can change them or whatever.
yeah, I stayed with my ex for 6 years. I didn't get married
Yeah,
till I was 33 or 34. And yeah, because of that fear of like leaving and not thinking
absolutely.
that I was enough. But again, that was his, narcissistic abuse and all of that stuff. But oh my gosh, yeah, we'll talk about this because I would love to have her on the show for sure,
Okay.
especially, being so, I mean, she's not young, but she's 20. And like, yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of young people do not make that decision. And like,
absolutely.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk just briefly because we got to give Carl Wilson a shout out. So I
Mm-hmm.
know he was watching the Facebook Live when I was on your show, and then he reached out to you. And so I'm actually going to be the keynote speaker at all of the All Women Rock events and
Awesome.
the veterans event and also the doctors event. So I'm super excited, and I saw that he reached out to you So
Yes.
are you involved in the All Women's Rock Atlanta?
Yes. He asked me to be
Yay.
one of the nominees. I accepted. So
Yay.
are you going to keynote that one too?
I'm not. I would
I was
love
going to
to.
say,
I would love to. I just, yeah, I mean, I don't even remember when it's at, or when it is, but I
it's
would
in
love
May.
to. Oh, it's in
Yeah.
May? Well, maybe
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to Carl about that. So yeah, that's super exciting. And that's, this is why I do, and I'm sure why you do what you do, because you get connected with such inspiring people that just want to do good things for this world and for people.
Absolutely.
And,
Yes.
it just, everything happens for a reason. And I'm so glad that like I connected with you.
Yes.
So I got a couple more questions, but
Okay.
what do you think has been the biggest um, challenge and the biggest lesson that you've learned throughout either your whole life or since you've been on this journey as a life coach or whatever? Like, I know it's really broad, but what has been your biggest challenge and your biggest lesson?
I think for me, as a person who grew up as an only child, my mom was one of 12. So her way out with her siblings was an education. So she always pushed an education. And, that was one of the things that she instilled in me. Along with that, though, was the affirmation of, man, you're doing good in school. I wouldn't say I was spoiled, but I don't really feel like I had hard upbringing. If I had something that I wanted, I would work for it. She would match whatever I saved and things like that. So she instilled a good work ethic.
Yeah.
And with that, though, was a lot of value and worth tied to me doing everything right. So for me, even my mom, she had me before she got married at the same university. The same minister that married her and my dad married me and my husband. So
Oh
that's
my gosh.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So, but my mom and dad got a divorce. So she's always had this in the back of her mind, oh, I hope it works out. Then her mom had a large family and her and my grandfather divorced. So she was like always thinking it's not going to work. She's going to be by herself with all these kids. So she had that to deal with. But for me, it was just the whole thing of being able to recognize that I am enough. That was the
Yeah.
struggle for me.
Yep.
So it's like, I just felt like if I was enough, then I could say, hey, you know what, this is how it is. And, that's just how it's going to be. But every time that we were finding out that we were pregnant, I had to wait for the right time to tell my mom because she would go through mourning. Like through 8 of my pregnancies, she wouldn't even talk to me for like a
Why?
couple months because she would be depressed. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Like, yeah, thinking we're going to get a divorce or whatever was going through her
Oh.
mind.
Yeah.
It was a personal thing with her. So, it was really a lot of stress and anxiety. So even then I'm like, I'm married, me and my husband are, we're not living at home. We have our own family. We live like a couple hours away from her, but she still would go through this time of mourning, until like after my 8th child. So I always felt like, I had to do the right thing, say the right thing. So I think if I had learned that a lot earlier,
Yeah.
I would have avoided one being in the hospital. But I am glad because it helped me establish boundaries, know what I know and what my values are, stand on them and be like, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, and embrace that. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. What type of clientele do you work with as a life coach? Do you just work with women, or do you have like coaching programs, or do you just do like Facebook Lives? What does that look like?
I work with women and men. I prefer women because I think that I can tell a man something, but I don't know, for some reason, there's just this disconnect. You know what I mean? Just because we think differently. And I'm
Yeah.
beginning to learn that. So when they have an awareness, let's say that, you have low self-esteem, that's going to be hard to admit to a woman, if you're a man.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I like dealing with women. I do have programs, and what I have done, effective in September, I'm just going to offer one program because what I found with coaching and with a lot of my clients is it's just not an easy fix. You know,
Right.
when you're dealing with low self-esteem or things from your past, you know, it's at least a 12-month commitment. And I think for me, I'd rather just tell people that up front, you know, instead of trying to put a band-aid on an open wound.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that I'm revamping now for September because, you know, and then it helps people to understand that they can be patient with themselves. You know, you just can't say, oh, I need confidence and think you're going to get it in 90 days. I mean, there is so much layers that come with that. You know, I get
There
with some.
is. And I think like, so this is a little bit different from like a therapist from a coach perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a therapist perspective, I've been doing therapy for 16 years. We, at least for me, and I know a lot of therapists out there, we focus on the strength-based therapy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like you're focused on strength-based where it doesn't last a long time. And I specialize in substance abuse and trauma. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, some trauma obviously can be longer, but with the strength base, we want to, because sometimes I think in as many years as I have done this, I have seen so many patients become codependent on me
Right.
and not want, like, because that fear of like letting that accountability person and that comfort person go.
Right.
So I do think it's good that you tell people like, hey, change takes time. It's not something that's going
Mm-hmm.
to happen overnight. Um, but yeah, so like, because us as therapists, we can't put like a time frame on it, you know, like
Right.
legally, like we can't do that. We're like, you can't see us for 12 months. But
Absolutely.
so I think that's the difference. And that's something that I've really struggled with, like as an entrepreneur, like the
Mm-hmm.
difference between the therapist and the coach, right? Because
Right.
so I'm a coach, but I'm also a therapist. And so it's hard because there's like two different things.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad that, yeah, I mean, like what you said, it takes time. You can't
Yeah.
really put a time frame on that, especially with what you're bringing up in your sessions.
Right.
So that's so exciting for you. Anything else exciting coming up that you want to share with the audience of besides the new coaching program? Any other exciting events or anything you want to put out there?
Well, I'm just excited about the woman rock
Oh
opportunity.
no.
That's just really exciting. So I'm
Yes.
excited about that. That
Yes.
definitely was something that was organically came up. And,
Mhm.
you know, I don't think it would ever happen if I didn't have you on the show. Really.
Well,
I mean,
again, and that's why I have it tattooed on my arm. Everything happens for a reason. And that's
yes.
how my career, you know, I jumped into entrepreneurship a year and a half ago,
Mhm.
left, you know, corporate America as a therapist. And that is how I've gotten to where I am, like just by meeting people and people like loving me enough to like introduce me to someone, or
Right.
they see one of my interviews. And so when I saw that Carl was like messaging you on our live interview that we
Yes.
did, I was like, yes. So
Yes.
I will definitely have to talk to him about coming out to Atlanta because that would be awesome for
Definitely.
sure.
Because
Yeah.
you'll have to have dinner and stuff with the family. They would
Oh my
love it.
gosh, that would be
Yes.
amazing. And then I can like see how it all works. Cause
I
like,
mean, I'm telling you. Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Just be
So,
prepared to have a lot of questions asked, okay? Because
oh
they're
my
like,
gosh, I love it. I love it. That's my life.
everybody
Like,
that comes to the house, I don't care what age you are, they're like, oh, this is my company. You know what I mean?
I love it.
So,
Absolutely love it. So before we wrap up, only because I'm sorry, the clubhouse is getting a little busy.
oh, no
We
worries.
have a bar in here, so it's like happy
Oh,
hour.
hey, big time.
Again, the joys of like last minute not being able to get in my house stuff. But anyway,
I'm
so how can people get in contact with you? I mean, I'm going to share this all over, especially
mm-hmm,
like this was such a fun interview for me because a lot of
good.
people that I have on the show, I know. And
Right.
I like kind of the like secret of like, I don't know who you are. And then like you
I
get my
love
full
it.
reaction of like, you have 15 kids. Like,
I love that. That's what I like about those Facebook lives
yeah.
because I try to keep them as unscripted as possible because it helps me to open my mind and
Mm-hmm.
not have any preconceived notions because I'm
Right.
telling you every day is something different.
Yes.
I had a lady on and we couldn't even get video and we just heard her sound, right? And I thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead, we're just going to go with it. She was like, okay,
Yep.
because she was in Dubai.
Oh
Well,
my
come to
gosh, that's
find out,
amazing.
Yeah, she it was doing 1,000 songs in 1,000 days. She was like on day eight something, 849 or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
And every day she was writing a song, composing it, performing it on Facebook. And it was like day 849.
Oh
I
my
was just
gosh, that's
blown
amazing.
away. Yes.
But yeah,
And
I
you
mean,
never
that's the
know.
thing. It's all about,
Yes,
like with the movement, the IMNF movement and everything we do, it's like all about being authentic, real, and like vulnerable. And like, yeah, so
right.
I'm in this clubhouse because I can't get into my house and
Right.
whatever, it is what it is. I'm not, yes. And so that's what I
Now,
love
so
about
now you
Facebook
know
Lives.
what I said because you said I'm in the clubhouse. I said, "Well, welcome to my world."
I
Okay,
know.
now you know why I said that.
Yes, now I do because you just never know. I mean, I would have never known you had 15 kids at all. So I just got excited there for a moment. Okay. So how can people get in contact with you?
I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, or they can go to my website, LaChelleAdkins.com.
Awesome. So make sure when we get done with this, you put your website in the link or in the
Okay.
comment section. And then I always ask one of my favorite questions at the end. What is your favorite mantra or affirmation?
Okay, mine is one that I wrote myself, and it's be
Ooh,
you because there is no substitute. So be the best version of you. There is no
I
substitute.
love that.
Yes.
When did you write that?
That was shortly after my hospitalization, after I got my last one in 2016, and right before I went into coaching, really
Have you
just,
thought of writing a book?
yes, I'm working on several, but
I will help you. I will
okay.
help you. I wrote my first one and then I'm starting my second one. Of course, I have way more time than you. I'm never going to say I am busy again in my entire life because if I do, I'm going to think of you because like you are
Great.
now like my inspiration. Like if I feel like I'm
Awesome.
too busy, like no, there's no one busier in this world than LaChelle, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
Call me anytime. Look, we can swap notes all the time, okay? Because I'm
right.
telling you, I'm
Yes.
always learning, Because,
Yes.
for me, it's just been I guess every day's an adventure for me. Because, see, I was an
Mhm.
only child.
Yes.
So for them to have siblings, I mean, I used to cry when they would fight over stuff because I'm like, they don't love each other. My husband's like, that's what siblings do. You know what I mean? But I just
Yeah.
didn't know. It's like they're so mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, every day is a learning experience.
Oh, I love it. I'm like so blessed to have you in my life, and I'm so glad
Well, thank you.
our paths crossed.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today on my show. And
Okay.
for our listeners or our audience members, be sure to check out the IMNF movement. Order your cards. We are still. My goal
Okay.
is still. We just got 24 states. We just got our 24th state and our 10th country. So my goal for all of you who are watching is to hit all 50 states by the end of September. We got like 4 weeks.
Awesome.
And so go to the website, check it out, order your shirts, spread the movement, spread the love. And thank you so much for joining us. And LaChelle, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for joining us and sharing your story. And you truly are America's supermom. No doubt about it.
Thank you.
No doubt about it.
Thank you, Megan. Well, look, I'm looking forward to us meeting in person here soon. Okay.
I know, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Mhm.
before we close up, I always like to end the show sharing with the audience my favorite quote, which is one that I wrote that's in my book. And it's simply this: you are enough just as you are, regardless of whatever season you're in. And the more you concentrate and celebrate that, the more you will live in your strength.
I
So
love
thank
that.
you. Thank you. I know
That
it's
is
one of my faves.
great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next week on IMNF TV.
Bye.